You struggling?
No, I'm just moaning. I don't really know why I'm moaning. I'm groaning and moaning.
I'm putting this one on there. This is the one that has always got the outtakes on it. Although we've had some already that you haven't seen. Anyway, we're going for it now.
Look at us in our
matching card.
Yes, sort of pastel-y, neutrally.
Yes. Because I was decided, I did put this one on. If you're on the YouTube, you'll see I did put a little, very nice little sort of jumper on. It's a bit chilly, Billy. So we're episode 12.
We are.
I know. Look at us.
We remembered this week.
We remembered, yes. We haven't had a menopausal blank. And do you know what I haven't asked you for a few weeks? How has your menopause been the last few weeks, actually?
Yeah, because it's been a while, hasn't it?
I haven't asked the question. Last time we didn't ask that question.
Actually. We didn't, did we? Mine is pretty good right now.
Okay. And what is good? Define good.
It is bloated tummy stage. So that's cyclical. So bloated belly.
Is that still happening then?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm still getting that a lot.
Okay.
I'm still, even although like the hormones show I'm out the other side, I don't know how long I've been out the other side.
Okay.
But no, I've still very much got the bloated gassy belly, which I speak about every single time we do this. But I've got that. So I'm and that isn't all the time. But it's sort of, there's a period in the month where it's worse, and that's what it is at the moment. But other than that, mood, the hot flushes have been quite bad, but manageable. But for me, and I know it's what we're going to speak about tonight, mood is my biggie. If I can keep my mood positive and I don't sink into sort of anxiety, low mood, that kind of stuff, I can deal with anything else. I can deal with a bit of a bloated belly and a bit
because
sweaty.
at the time of recording this, it is almost the end of November.
Yeah.
The nights are dark, aren't they, right? They're really dark. And like we were just saying before we pressed record, it gets to 8 o'clock at night. It feels like it's 12.
It's since the clocks have changed. I don't know about you, but it just seemed like boom. We no longer had evenings. The days are so much shorter. I think where we live especially, but everywhere from what I hear, the bad weather has come in. And so yeah, it's you've got a lot less daylight, a lot less,
and that really affects our mental health, doesn't it? I think it does. And I don't get as affected as a lot of people. I actually don't mind the sort of wintering time. I actually quite enjoy it. I like putting the candles on, I like putting the lights on, etc. What I find hard, thankfully David comes home before me, but what I find hard is if I have to come into a house from the dark and cold, and it's dark and cold. Yeah, that I find really quite depressing. Yeah. And pretty quickly I have to put, you know, if you have to light the fire on fire and stuff, I have to really like, you know, do that straight away. Otherwise I can feel a little bit like, oof, gosh, it's, you know, my mental health it's not depression, but I'll feel down, you know, and especially if that's on a regular basis. Now, thankfully, like I said, David gets home before me, but he's the one that often has to do that bit, and he struggles with the dark nights a lot.
I do too, and I always have, but it has been amplified in perimenopause and menopause in the same way as it was amplified back in the teenage years, where you first, where your hormones go and you get your period and everything like that.
Yeah.
But what about, have you noticed did you notice any difference in perimenopause or now in menopause when it comes, did it impact your mental health in any way?
It did, in the sense that I didn't want to go out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I suppose, I mean, now I'm forced to go out in some ways because I have a horse. I have to go to the stables and stuff like that. But we were talking before we pressed record about the fact that when you're coming home from work or at the end of the day, you just want to get home. Yeah. I can't do that now. But whereas a few years ago when I was in that whole perimenopause phase and the menopause phase, I didn't want to go out, you know.
And why was that?
I just... I wanted to stay in that kind of sort of safety and the warmth and the light. And so I know I compare things to the horse quite a lot, but my horse had an osteopathic session. So the osteopath came around into his box and did this whole work on his back, and it's a continual process. But when he's feeling a little bit insecure and unsafe, he'll back himself into a corner of the box. So he'll put himself into what he would see as safe space.
Yeah.
Because he's got like a barrier around him on two sides of him, possibly three, and he feels safer like that, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't under threat, and he wasn't.
No,
having
but
anything
it's just
awful
his
done, but it was his
natural way
natural
of-
thing
yeah.
to be, well, I'll just go into this corner then.
Mhm.
I think I felt a bit like that.
Yeah.
I'll just go into the corner then, you know,
Where it's safe, where it's
safe.
familiar, where it's
Yeah, because I lost a lot of confidence. I know that I come across now as very confident, and I always have done, and very shiny and very solo and very all those different things. But I lost a heck of a lot of confidence in myself during all the menopause phase, and I kind of felt like my confidence is being like drained out. And I think the winter months, I found it very hard because I was like, I would become even more hermit-like, and I would. It's one of the reasons I've decided to take a job outside of all my yoga and coaching this winter, to get me out of the house, and to get me mixing in a completely different and buzzy and fun and sometimes intense environment. Because otherwise I do tend to be a bit hermit-like, and it's quite an effort to get me out of the house.
And it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? Because it's like you retreat inwards.
Yeah. Which is great.
Because you're lacking in confidence, and maybe your mood is a little bit lower. But then the very thing that would probably pull you out of that would be getting out and about, getting a bit of human contact, getting some sunlight.
Human contact, I think, is a really big thing. I think that so this week, at time of recording, I've been on a team. I've been doing all sorts of things actually in the last week. I did a 3-day yoga festival, which was really intense, with thousands of people. I had, you know, loads of people at my workshops and things, and people all around all the time, and an atmosphere, because it's in a really special place as well, which is buzzy and young and vibrant, and so there's life basically. And then I've gone from there to team building event with the company I now work for, which was really good fun. And we did a meeting on the Wednesday morning, where we asked all the team, you know, did they think it was important to do these few things that we were doing together? And the thing that was pulled out from it was that it was important, even though it's not like, you know, proper team building, that's not the thing, but we weren't doing something that was really tasked and really
focused on a particular project.
It wasn't that at all. It was more fun and that kind of thing. But it was the human element that everybody appreciated, because it meant that we could spend time with some people that some of the people won't see during the whole of the winter season, because they're in different resorts. And it just gave people a more human slant. And you know, you get to know
the person behind the email address, and that makes a difference.
You care more afterwards, so that when someone phones up and goes, I'm having a bugger of a day, Charlotte, you know,
that means something to you.
Okay, fine, what can I do to help? How can I help right now? And I think the human contact thing is massive. And I know I've been talking to my mum recently about sort of the doom and gloom in the UK and all that kind of thing. And I don't feel any of that at the moment. I really feel quite positive and quite light, but I'm absolutely certain it's because the human contact that I've had recently has all been really nice.
Could well be.
It's all been really good, and in all sorts of domains, you know.
Could well be.
Done all sorts of different things. We did a dance class, which was hilarious, you know, because all the people I work with don't necessarily dance. Moving the body, laughing at and with each other, doing something that isn't in your comfort zone was amazing, because it really brought everybody out of their shell.
You're ticking all the boxes, aren't you? So the things like we've spoken about it before, but we both have sort of a set of balance elements, things that are go-tos that we know keep us sort of, you've got your baseline or above, so regardless of what's coming at you, keep you happy, keep your mental health good. Things like exercise, things like connection, things like challenging yourself a little bit. And so I guess what you've described is an event or a weekend where you ticked all those boxes. You've got that. There's so many women in the winter months don't get that.
No, I know.
It's so easy, and I see it myself, things like exercise, and I am someone, I am a stickler. It's just part of who I am. I run 4 times a week, come rain or shine. And even for me, I
It's
can see how
hard.
much harder it
Yeah,
is
it
now
is.
because you've got
It's
a small,
hard.
smaller window, and then it's cold and it's rainy and it's
Yeah.
snowy and it's horrible. And it is much, much harder to find the motivation to do
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
that keep you sane and keep you happy.
Yeah.
And so you can understand that
Mm.
that so many women, and I'm hearing it in the groups that I'm in, are struggling. It
Struggling.
is a tough
Yeah.
time of year. It's also, for one thing I wanted to touch upon is, it's not because I've always suffered from this in the winter. I think coming from Aberdeen, where you don't get much sunlight at all
No.
in the
Yeah,
winter.
yeah, exactly.
From a young age, I suffered from a form of depression in the winter. And you would hear about sad and, you know, and
yes.
having that sort of stoic Scottish attitude. It was like, just get on with it. That's not real. But it is. It's the drop in, we're getting less sunlight, the drop in the serotonin, the hormones, happy hormones that keep us happy. It is a fact. We get less of it in the winter.
We do.
And in the menopause, those same hormones drop. So no wonder. You know, I used to
Really
think it was just
struggling,
me, and it was just like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I snap out of it? Why can't I be happy?
Yeah.
But this wasn't me just in a funk. It was like, whoa, there is something
going on.
hanging over me. And the more I learned about it, and it was exactly the same in the menopause, I went to the doctor for that reason, to ask to go on to HRT initially, because I was doing everything, but still there were moments where I wanted to drive my car off the mountain.
You said this to me the other day, and that shocked me a little bit. And I know that you're not alone. And
no,
we did want to touch on this without being ridiculously depressing. We did want to touch on the suicide rates in menopausal women, because I've seen various interviews, documentaries, Instagram posts, all sorts of different things recently, where they've been talking about the statistics that are quite hidden, really. But there's a huge group of statistics for women in that menopause age group. The rates of suicide are massive.
It's scary
compared to the other age groups. And that made me think, that's why I said to you, I think we maybe need to touch on it, because it's very much an altered state of mind, isn't it, during the perimenopause and the menopause. And a lot of women, I think, don't even realize that it's related to the menopause and the perimenopause thing. That's the big thing that came out, was they didn't know that they were in that, and they just thought they were going nuts.
What's wrong with me? What's going on? That was me. And I was like, this is ridiculous, you know. And I tried everything. I stopped drinking for a while. Diet was good. I exercised. I'm loved. I've got loads of friends. It was like, you know, so then you start to question. There's a sort of degree of shame about it. It's like, what the hell is going on with me that I am wandering around feeling like this?
But the random, I feel like driving my car off the road.
Horrible thoughts. And that's what I wanted to speak about, because I know that you watch stuff like this and you see us on Instagram, and it's easy to think, I have people say to me all the time, you seem so positive, and, you know, you see us dancing and having fun. But it's important to, I think it's important to speak about this stuff. I'm always very open about it. This is other side. I consider myself a positive, happy person. And yet, regardless, as I say, I would be driving down the hill, and just out of nowhere, I remember in the morning looking out my bathroom window, and just the overwhelming feeling of dread. And I would literally start visualizing I could open this window and I could just climb out. And that's scary. That is scary. Thankfully, because of all the work I've done on myself, and also the fact that I knew I was in a good place, you know, I was healthy. I was able to then go, this is something more. This isn't just because.
But I think, you know, a lot of women can't.
More.
And also, we're coming up to Christmas, the time of recording this. And as
Many
you come up
people
to
are
Christmas,
alone.
a lot of women are alone, what with divorces now and midlife, etc. You know, children or not children, grown up, etc. Some people don't have very happy families, you know. So everything you see on the television, all these incredibly expensive adverts that they put out there from John Lewis, from Marks and Spencer, blah, 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 they don't see themselves in those adverts. They don't see their life and their home life in those adverts. So it makes them question even more, well, there's something obviously wrong with me. And if they're also going through the menopause and they're feeling pretty low in their esteem, they're feeling pretty shitty, really, it's a hard, tough time. So it's either you turn to something, or, you know, some people are turning to, you know, pills if they can get them. Some people are turning to alcohol, and no judgment from us and any of that there. You know, you do what you can and need to, but I found the really chilling thing was the suicide rate for women in that age bracket, and it really shocked me. It made me really sad. Actually, I got very teary when I was listening to one of the podcasts recently that I was listening to, and I found that, I found it really like, wow,
because it is easy to look and think like. I mean, I can only speak for myself and what I've heard other people say, but to look and think, well, there is no way out. I look at myself and it was like, man, I've done everything. I stopped drinking. I've done this. I exercise. I look after myself. You know, there is no, on paper, there I shouldn't be feeling like this.
See, right. So I'm going to go to, there was the Davina McCall's last, I think it was the last one, was with Paloma Faith, or it might have been the one before. She's just had a brain operation.
I saw that.
Yes,
but she's apparently doing well.
Yeah, because it was a benign thing, but they had to get it out, otherwise
still a biggie, isn't it?
It's still a big thing having your brain operated on, because it's so easy to go wrong.
Oh, God,
yeah. Slip a little bit, but apparently she's doing really well. But I think it was the last podcast that she did with Paloma Faith.
It was good, wasn't it?
It's a good one. It was a really good one, and she came up with a couple of things that I found really, really interesting and really helpful. One of them was that she went through IVF, and it wasn't her; it was her partner.
Yeah. This was
and she got really quite pissed off by the fact
people
that
assuming the general assumption is it's the woman.
That it was her problem or fault, right? And I think that already created a little bit of a seed of problem in their couple, of non-egality kind of thing. But the thing that really struck me, and I think it's important for what we're saying here, is when she was talking about the fact that she was alone in her house, okay, at the end of the day, at night, when she stood up with her partner and things, and she tried her best, she'd done everything, blah, 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 that she could. She still didn't feel that she was doing enough. But she mentioned about the fact that her children would say things like, oh yeah, but we didn't ask Dad to do this because he's a bit tired at the moment. And she was like, but what about me? Am I not tired as well? What's the difference between me and Dad? Why am I not allowed to be tired? Why do I have to keep going, and then burn out at the end of the day because I'm so damn knackered from keeping everyone's balloons and rainbows up in the float? And I felt that before I got divorced. I felt that with the perimenopause time. I felt very much like, bloody hell, I can't assume the role that I have had for many, many years. I haven't got the capacity.
Many women experience the crippling fatigue. Like, you hear women speaking about the fact that they literally have to go to bed for 3 weeks, and it's not, they cannot get out of bed. But that's hard, isn't it? It's hard when you have a job and you have responsibilities.
And you've had a personality and a character and a role for years within your family unit, or within your own life, even if you don't have a family, within your business environment. So many women I've heard of have given their job up during the perimenopause because they cannot maintain the workload and the person that they had been. And I think the thing and I've heard various women go, but I wish I'd waited, because it passes. And then all of a sudden,
I know, and there is that. there is that.
Yeah.
But then linking back to the suicide thing, when you're in it, you don't know it's going to pass.
You also don't know, like Paloma said as well, I didn't know I was depressed with postpartum. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't know that I was depressed when I had my kids and got divorced and blah, 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 because I was in it.
When I was looking out the window or in the car, you know, you're not at that, thank goodness I didn't do anything, but you're not, your thoughts are just going there. In that moment, you're in this fog. It's just this really heavy, sad, horrible fog. And I guess there's so many different factors, you know, there's so many changes going on. There's also that midlife piece of, gosh, you're suddenly aware of your, this is a bit quite heavy, but mortality, and that you don't have forever.
I was talking about that
people
earlier,
find themselves sort of when that realization comes, it's a bit like, oh shit, and then they feel stuck. Again, no way out.
And I think it depends on how you look at time, and it depends on how you look at how you have a take on life. But when you're in the heart of all of that dark thoughts and the lack of confidence and all of the fatigue and all those things, it's very difficult to do the positive. But it's fine, I'll take this as a life lesson, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this, I'm going to do this, because you can't even see beyond the fog of what's going on in the thick of that time. I think that's the big issues. But
as women, also hearing you speak there, we're so good at putting on the mask.
Oh, we're very good at
We're so good at, somebody says, how you doing? And you know, whilst maybe I was thinking about jumping out the bathroom window, I leave my house and it's like, you know, and there's that, it's almost seen again as a weakness to go, shit, I don't know what the hell is wrong with me.
But we've been quite good at that. You and I are quite good at that.
Yeah.
Like when we've been on the cycle path with the dogs and everything, frequently either you've said to me something or I've said to you, like, you know, how are you? And both of us in our turn have gone, I'm not good today.
And that does me, and I'm sure you, the world of good, because you can speak about it. So hence the reason we're doing this, just because it is important. You're not alone. Like, you know, we're all feeling similar things.
Well, could we do this as like a positive spin to sort of, how can you positive suicide? You can't, and depression and stuff, you can't. But what could we share? Like, we're not gurus on this, right? But what could we share is a positive for this time of year? What would you like to share, Jill?
I not so much that. I think what helped me massively was, one, to realize I'm not alone, and two, the realization. I mean, when I went to speak to a doctor, you know, there was a whole stigma of, what am I, you know, God, what's he gonna, you know, what even is wrong? What are they gonna say? And luckily, I spoke to someone who was very, very good, and who very much reassured me that it's not, there is no shame. This is a biological thing. There are hormonal changes that mean your serotonin levels, your dopamine levels, all those things that keep us happy have dropped. And when I heard that, it's like, and you know, it's like that sort of almost gave me permission to not be okay. You know, it's like, this isn't because I failed in some way.
Giving you permission to not be okay. Why would we need permission?
Well, but I think I just needed to know that it wasn't some sort of failing. It wasn't something that I was or wasn't doing, because I sat there in front of him and went, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because that is the way I've always been like, let's fix it, let's be positive.
Exactly. And you're justifying.
But I went to him and I was like, but I'm doing this, which is obviously what they do us, because there are things that can help you. Well, he said, well, that's great. And had you not been doing those things, I probably would have suggested you try some of them, because they do help. Because again, it's things that you are doing get the serotonin and the dopamine levels and the estrogen levels back up. But if you're doing all those things and you're still feeling rubbish, it's not because there's something else you're not doing.
Yeah.
There's biological changes going on in your body
Yeah.
that how you're feeling is
Yeah.
completely normal. It's okay to be sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just made me think, it's right. It's not that I'm broken or I failed. It's just this is where I'm at right now, and it will pass. It will pass.
And I think that's a really interesting idea of giving yourself permission, because I would do it now, but I think that when I was going through the menopause, the heart of it, I didn't. I don't think I gave myself permission for it, you know, and I tried to sort of, I suppose, hide it and mask it.
The mask again, isn't it? Because that's what we do.
And then just occasionally, it was so dark,
that
the
you
cloud
can't,
and the anger. And, you know, I'd come out with something and David would say something like, well, crikey, you're in a mood.
wrong with you?
It's like, honestly, you've got no idea.
Yeah.
I've been preserving you all.
Because 90% of the time you're hiding it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
And
what we do. And we almost pride ourselves as women. The fact, you know, I mean, I used to always make jokes about how us women can paint on the smile and men can't. But in a way, there comes a point where that isn't necessarily a strength.
No,
you know that. So you need to be honest about how you're feeling here.
So.
Rather be honest, recognize it, get some rest, get some help, than jump out the bathroom window.
Ever so slightly selfish. If I'm going to do a little positive thing for you this winter, be selfish, respect yourself, maybe try and get a little bit closer to yourself, give yourself permission to do what the fuck you like, actually. I mean, I know that sounds, you know, easier said than done, but if you want a bath tonight or in the middle of the day on a Monday, then you can. And fucking take a bath, you know? If you want to, you know, look after yourself in ways that you've maybe not given yourself the permission to do in the past, then I think do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a time in your life where you should do it, you know, buy yourself some nice oils for your body and oil your body.
Oh gosh,
you know,
and also
that kind of thing.
Communicating about it, like when I spoke to my partner and I actually tell him how I'm feeling, you know, he had no idea I was thinking about driving. You know, when I tell him these things, he's able to understand, because it's a world that, let's face it, they know nothing about.
No.
It opens that door, and then he's the first one now going to me, why don't you go and run yourself a bath? Why don't you go and, you know, and it just helps, rather than feeling, again, keeping it all bottled up inside and feeling like you're failing in some sort of
I have to
way.
admit, more recently, even just recently, it's not a long ago thing, but just recently, I do say to David more now, my partner more now, I'm not having a good day, or I'm finding it tough today. So I apologize in advance if stuff's gonna, if I come out with stuff, or if I'm a bit quiet, or I'm a bit like this, blah blah. And he also comes back to me with things now. So I was like, I think the communication thing is huge. It really is. But if you're on your own, I think that's another thing. And when in a fortunate or unfortunate, I don't, it depends on how you look at it, and it depends on the day. But being with somebody, but
then that would be my positive. Then would be, regardless, force yourself to pick up the phone to a bestie or to someone who gets you. Give yourself a cup of tea and have a good old natter. I've done that with a couple of girlfriends have called me this week on different occasions for exactly that reason. It's just like, and it does you the world.
It does you the world of good,
it's
doesn't
that
it?
connection bit again.
My best friend in Canada, Sarah, so she's like a sister to me. She sends me really funny, like menopause clips or whatever. And the last one she sent wasn't about the menopause, but it was super funny. And it was French and Saunders, and it was to do with, they've got a new computer, and they was working on the script on the new computer, but the screen had frozen. It's one of the funniest sketches I think I've ever seen of the two of them. And they end up, you know, shouting at the computer, smacking it down like that. It's just really
I can think of scenes I used to watch when I was younger. It's like, it's used to remind me.
Why don't you put your PIN number in and say what amount of money? That won't work, will it? That won't work. It's not the same thing. It's just really funny. But she sends me little clips every now and then. And I think laughing.
Oh, just this
such
full on
and
void,
yeah.
you know, absolutely,
Really,
absolutely.
really important.
Anything to just bring a bit of humor and lightness into what is
Send
otherwise
silly
a dark.
clips to
Yeah.
your besties that kind of have made you really, really laugh,
Yeah.
smile and things. Just send them on to a couple of your friends. That would be my little like
Just send
positive
a little
tip.
message, anything. I listened to someone the other week that was like, the importance of just of feeling like someone
Mm,
cares about you. You know, if
yeah,
you receive a little message in the morning, if it's a funny clip or if it's a "How you doing, lovely?"
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
and it's
It
so
makes you
easy to
feel
do,
better for
isn't
the
it?
day, doesn't
It's
it?
you
Yeah,
know, once
it
it
does.
makes you feel good knowing that there's somebody out there
Yeah.
looking out for you.
But you have to do it too. I think that's
Yeah.
the message. You can't just
Yeah,
sit and
pass
wait
it
for
on,
Yeah.
pass it
Like,
on.
pass it on.
But
and
the
do it.
temptation is, as you were saying, and you're someone that's generally a positive person,
On the
doesn't
whole.
suffer from depression, and
No.
even you during the peri wanted to just cocoon and
Cocooning.
retreat.
Massive.
But yeah, anything you can do, force yourself to break that. Not all the time, because we need that too, but to get a little bit of light in there,
Yeah,
contact in there.
Just I do remember, and it wasn't. I possibly was in some of the symptom phase already, but didn't realize it. But speaking of suicide, after my ex had committed suicide, and there were months after that, I went on holiday with my girls to Mallorca, and I remember seeing myself in like I think it was like H&M or something like that. And I had a like cardi on, but it wasn't as nice as this one and as trendy as this one. And I was kind of sitting like this, and I thought I looked a bit like my mum for a start. But I just remember thinking, bloody hell, who is that unconfident bag lady in the corner? And it really hit me for 6. I suddenly realized I'd lost the pizzazz and the confidence that I'd had before he died. But I think it was also with the symptoms of perimenopause coming in as well. And it was like that boom all together. And that was hard. And I suddenly, whoa, I had a big like wake up call image. Didn't stop me from wanting to cocoon in and winter in and not go out further to that. But it was a bit of a, you need to be aware of it, Charlotte. You need to be aware of what's going on and look after yourself a bit more. So I went out and bought, with the girls there, I went out and bought some really nice Massimo Dutti kind of trousers. I thought, come on, Charlotte, buy yourself something that's going to make you feel a little bit kind of sassier. And, you know, you can put them on with your heels.
We speak all the time about jewelry, like we laugh because it's, you know, like, but that to me, anything at all, putting on nice bohemian jewelry, putting on some uplifting music,
bit of makeup.
I mean, positive. I know it all sounds cheesy and naff, but positive thinking. Think about, you know, something nice, something happy, something you're good at. Dance, move, all of it. Anything like that will change your state.
I think it does. I think so. Energy. You know, I'm big into energy, and energy is just like circulating all the time. But if it doesn't move, it just stagnates and it just sits. Whereas if it circulates, moves, if it can dance, if it can do stuff, it's going to change. The vibration will change.
Oh, for sure.
But it won't change if you just go, and your covers over, can't do anything. And I know it's hard at times to do it, but if you force yourself out of bed, you force yourself out of a situation and just literally shake your body,
go for a walk, shake
that made me feel a heck of it. Also, I used to go into nature, scream. I've done that quite a few times. Done that a lot actually. In fact, I remember seeing you one day and I was running back going, just had a good scream at the trees.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
It's quite all right by me. I might go and scream at them too.
And on that note, next time we're going to have a little bit of a lighter one. We're going to do a little
we're going to do a
pre-Christmas one. I think we might even come dressed up a little bit with
well, we can, because that's a good way of lifting the mood, isn't it? Throw on a little bit of tinsel.
So this is that. We'll actually, do you know what? We'll save that story for, and we maybe even try and do a video for Instagram or something.
About stress. Okay, yeah. All right.
Stress it, because we've often had this conversation about, should we just dress up? You know, although my partner's big into Christmas, yours is a bit bar humbug, isn't it, about the decorations? Mine's massively into Christmas. And I did joke just before we put all this on. I had to turn up in a shop last night to pick something up for the dog, and it's a decoration shop with all sorts of stuff in it as well. And he was standing there going, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to package it up and arrange delivery for this because it's too big to get in the van." It's this massive Father Christmas, takes up the whole of this room basically.
But he didn't buy it.
He didn't buy it. He was joking, but he loves Christmas.
I love Christmas,
and I love Christmas.
Next weekend, the first, isn't it?
I'll
be putting up the Christmas.
Oh, I'm putting I'm teaching a retreat, and I'm coming back on the 1st in the evening.
Get the music on.
We're going to put the tree up.
Yeah.
So
we'll be in a much
lighter.
Have you seen? Yeah, you're not. I see them from my bathroom.
Oh, sorry.
No, they're nice. They're nice.
Class.
Yeah, they're very
We've gone for classy. We've gone for warm, not like other people potentially. We've gone for classy.
I might do something really unclassy.
Like
so when you look out of your window,
we
just
see that.
A bit of attack. Yes. Bring the tone down a little bit.
That would be absolutely brilliant. Well, okay, we'll stay classy. You can do that. Although David does want to put blow up Santas in the garden. And I banned him from doing that. But if you start doing anything,
yes,
he'll be doing that.
Yeah.
So we'll see you then.
Lighter next time.
We'll dress up and we'll have something fun and positive that we're gonna talk about and enjoy. Maybe do an apéro whilst we're doing the podcast.
Yes,
that could be it. Yeah, something Christmassy.